My name is Tricia Rose, and I'm a professor here at Brown in Africana Studies and the director for the Center for the Study of Race and Ethnicity in America. And I'm really delighted to have this event. It's been something I've been hoping was going to happen for a while now, and the timing couldn't be better in a number of ways. Let me just say a little bit about this amazing photographer and then a few other comments, and I will immediately turn it over to him. Tonight we have a terrific opportunity to hear directly from Devin Allen, who was born and raised in West Baltimore, and photography was for him something much more than a pastime. It was a means of discovering his community's beauty, but also ensure his own sort of psychic and spiritual survival. He received national attention for his photographs of the protests in Baltimore following the death of Freddie Gray, one of which landed on the cover of Time magazine in May 2015. I found his work before that on Twitter and followed him for well over a year and have been consistently impressed and excited about his voice and the voices that he brings to the fore in his dynamic work. I found more than one amazing thing on Twitter. Twitter's like the coolest freestyle library ever. He has a gift for capturing protests and outrage and pain in an exceptionally humanizing way, and a point of view that takes Black life as the starting point for the conversation, not a kind of impossible endpoint with no alternative. His photos tell us much more about the people who are so often rendered silent by any number of other photographs and video footage that reinforce exaggerated, unclear, and negative expectations. What would those of us who don't live in Baltimore, who don't know Black Baltimore, what would we know without Devin Allen and his work? What would we have heard about Freddie Gray and the community's response? What assumptions would we then possibly make? We're delighted to have his work featured in our new space at CSREA. This talk is the launch of the art exhibit, which has been up for a couple of weeks in our new space, 96 Waterman Place. And after this terrific talk and conversation around 6 o'clock, we are going to have a reception in that space so that you can see his work live, although you'll see a whole lot more of it here. But, we've got the black and white, on the wall, old school style. So come get some snacks and see more of his work at that point. But please begin by joining me in welcoming Devin Allen.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Devin Allen, Baltimore-based self-taught photographer. So I'm gonna start off by just explaining, the landscape of Baltimore, how I grew up, my trials and tribulations, and, leading up until why I got into photography and how photography saved my life. So, I was born in 1988. I'm getting old, about to hit my 30s soon. But the landscape of Baltimore, it's a beautiful city. It's a very deprived, different type of city, but it's very authentic, it's very real. We're most known for being the home of The Wire, the home of The Corner, Carmelo Anthony. Most people know about the Harbor. We're also the heroin capital of the United States. So growing up, as far as, heroin, drugs, I did partake in that life. Growing up, I think I buried my first friend when I was about 17 years old. 27, and I stopped counting. I think I stopped counting after 20. So I've been desensitized, growing up. So I actually just started getting my emotions back after I had my daughter at 21. Other than that, I was pretty much cold and numb to pain in general. I've seen people murdered. I have seen people take their last breaths. I've been caught out in shootouts. I sold drugs myself. At the age of 19, I had a couple best friends, we decided to sell drugs. So by the time I was 20, I was, poisoning my own community by moving countless, if it was weed, whatever I can get my hands on, not to survive, but to take a lot of pressure off of my mother. My mother is an amazing woman. Like we're total opposites. She was like a straight A student, worked for the FBI, went to Towson University, and I was the exact opposite. I was a good kid, but I was sneaky. And I had a very bad anger problem growing up. So I was in a lot of fights, and I had a Napoleon complex because I was smarter than everybody else. my mother gave me a lot, but still, I still had this fascination with the streets and the world around me. So I kind of got sucked into that for a while. And I tried everything, you know, I tried school, it didn't work for me. I tried corporate America, it didn't work for me. I was just trying to find myself. Luckily, I had a strong family base, which a lot of people lack in my community, in my city, to basically try all those different outlets, you know. And before I found art, like I said, I was in the streets real heavy, me and my best friends. And I had 3 best friends, and one was named Day-Day, Derek Lee, we had another friend named Casper, his name was Chris Samuels, and I have a brother named Mike. So we were like inseparable, you know, for so long, and wherever I went, they went, you know, whoever had the car, you know, at that time, we rode shotgun. And I had my daughter, you know, I wasn't quite ready for that. My father wasn't in my life. He ran in and out. You know, he tended to put women, but he was a party animal. You know, he wanted to party, you know, date, do whatever he wanted to do, live his life. He's very immature. Still immature to this day, but I love him. So having a daughter changed my whole perspective on life and gave me a certain type of calmness and gave me a meaning. You know, she made me want to be larger than life. So at that point, it was like how I didn't want to be just like, oh, I'm a good father. I want to be like this amazing, dynamic, you know, man that she can look up to and cherish and love. So at that point, it's like, what can I do? You know, and I had another friend, we were total opposites. We both played basketball together in high school. His name is Joshua Austin. He's actually in Iraq right now. He joined the Army. And he was like, used to run around, you know, run around school with just like little Army shorts and shirt. I'm going to the Army, you know, and I'm like, whatever. You know, he ended up being amazing. So he came to me and was like, hey, Devin, you know, you should, you know, a lot of people in Baltimore City, you well known, you know, because I used to throw parties. Like I said, I did everything. Anything you can think of, I probably did it. You know, I was hustle man, that's what I did. And he said, let's do a poetry night. And I said, look, brother, ain't no one's coming to a poetry night in the hood. No way, no one, there's no way it's gonna be successful. And he was like, trust me. I'm like, all right. He's like, bring women out. Poetry brings women, women bring men. We're gonna make some money, we're gonna have a good time. I said, all right, I see. So like the first day, 5 people came. I was like, see, I told you. He's like, no, he's like, keep pushing. This is like when Instagram first hit, Twitter, so I was like, all right, let's do it again. And we did it next week, 200 people. So I was like, all right, I can get used to this. So at that time, I had got out the streets. You know, I told my friends I was done. You know, I wasn't gonna do it anymore. So I actually, I went to my mom, I was like, look, I need a job. You know, I need a good job, I have a child. So she actually got me an interview at Transamerica Insurance Company. And I don't have, like I said, I went to college, I didn't finish, I went to community college, and stroke of luck, you know, I killed every interview, and I ended up being there for 3 years as a workflow coordinator and assistant with accounts. So I ended up like handling Toyota accounts and stuff like that. So it was like a whole new world for me. You know, I could actually, I was so used to looking over my shoulder and, you know, constantly, you know, wondering if I'm gonna die today or tomorrow, but now I can, you know, I'm safe. You know, I don't have to look over my shoulder, and that's how I felt. And I was just so happy, and I was doing my poetry night, but I didn't do poetry. So what I would do, I thought once I promoted, I brought people, my job is done, I'm going to the bar, I'm gonna have me a drink, and I'm gonna flirt with some girls. And then I told my friend, he hosted, he did everything. I did nothing. So he came to me one day and said, Devin, look, you're not just gonna keep collecting money and not doing nothing. I said, all right, cool, I'll write a poem. So I wrote like my first poem, and I studied all the way through. I completely ruined it. I was like, all right, this is not for me. I love writing poetry. It's a good, you know, stress relief. I need to find something else. So I said, you know, I'm gonna do a clothing line. We're gonna base a clothing line around our poetry night. So I hired this girl to take pictures and put pictures on shirts. So we took pictures of like anything related around love, peace. The night was called Tranquility Tuesdays. And the shirt started selling out. And then I said, I need more pictures. And she wasn't giving them to me fast enough. Like I said, I'm hustle man. I move fast. I need my coins. And I was like, all right, you know what I was like, yo, we need to get a camera. And he was like, I got like a little Nikon Coolpix camera. We can do that. So I took pictures. We doing that, like just my friends. We put them on T-shirts, and then we just kept selling. I was like, you know what, it's kind of funny. He was like, yeah, why don't you take pictures at the poetry night, and basically we can put them on Instagram to promote. I was like, that's cool. I never thought of that. So I just started taking pictures at the poetry night, and then so after that, it was just like I found myself kind of detached from what I grew around. So I wasn't in the streets at all. I wasn't hanging with my best friends at all. You know, it was a kind of little tension there because I changed. The way I dressed changed. My whole persona changed. The way I looked at the world changed. George had introduced me to a whole new network of people. And at that point, it was like, I'm loving this. You know, like, this is my path. I think art is my path. Like, so 2013, you know, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go get my first camera. I need my own camera. I really want to do this. So I went to go get my camera, and I did not know how expensive cameras were. So I went in there, I was like, I want this, I want that, I want this. Let's go. You know, and I get to the register, they're like $2,000. And I'm like, bruh. You know, like, but like I said, I have a strong family base. So even when I'm talking about, like, I have put my mother through hell, I'm talking about getting me out of jail, my mother car put on drug hold, missing, I'm in the hospital because I broke my hand because I was fighting, like all types of things. I done put my mother through hell. You know, my family never gave up on me, you know, never gave up on me. And that's what kind of is the reason why I'm standing here today. And so what I do, call my grandmother. And grandma, you know, I put my little voice on grandma. She was like, I was like, what she doing? She was like, boy, what she want? You don't call me just to say hi. So I was like, can I use that Best Buy credit card? So I actually got like, I bought a camera, didn't like it, and I ended up getting like my first camera that I actually kept for a while was a Canon 60D. You know, and I was like just paying it off $100 a month, you know. And I got the camera like in January 2013, and I started just like shooting my friends, anybody that wanted to be a model. I walk around Baltimore just taking pictures of people. And then I'm like, no, this is fun. Like, this helped me release my stress. Like, this takes me on a journey that, like, I've never been on before. It's like my own personal high. And I just remember in 2013, in February, me and my friends hadn't been speaking, you know, and they liked the new me, but they missed the old me. You know, the mouth full of goals, the braids, the wild, the reckless. And then my nickname growing up was Moody because I'm a Gemini, so I had mood swings. So I go from 1 to 10, back to 1 real fast. And that kind of got me in a lot of trouble. So by that time swinging around, I started studying, you know, getting into spirituality. And like I had one of them grandmothers like, wake up Sunday morning, you're going to church, but church never resonated with me. So I started digging into spirituality, but art opened that door for me. So I started gaining control of my, you know, my attitude. So like when my friends, we got into like a real bad argument and we didn't speak, and I never got to speak to him again. And I just remember being in the house, like editing pictures, and I just got a phone call like, Day, he's been shot 7 times. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, and I never spoke to him again. You know, he passed away back in 2013 in February. You know, I was heartbroken. That was my road dog. You know, it was like my big brother. And like, we were like family. His mother was my mother, vice versa. And the sad part about it, I didn't even cry. You know, like I almost cried, like I teared up, but I didn't like break down, you know, how the average person would, you know, and that's the issue. And I just like, you know, this is life. This is what I'm used to. And then I went to go pay respects to his mother, and I saw my other friend, Casper, Chris, you know, like he was a loud wire, you know, like my friends, they were knee deep into some serious things. You know, like I hung with drug dealers, I hung with killers. You know, that's what I was used to. It was normal. And I just remember him, he had the gun on him, but I was always able to calm him down. I was like, no, Chris, put the gun down. We can figure out like what's going on. Just wait for me, you know. I was like, I got a photo shoot to do. Come to this, me and my friends, my friend had like a row house, and I was shooting the row house. And I said, come over to the house, like we're gonna chill and get a drink, need to celebrate his life, you know, and like don't do nothing reckless. So like I hug him tight, and then I hugged Derek, Day-Day's sister, and tell her like stay in the house, we don't know what's going on. And an hour after I left, Chris was shot in the head, a block over from where Day-Day was killed the day before. You know, and I would have been with them, but I was taking pictures, and that's when it triggered in my head, like this is for me, this is my calling. You know, if I was not into photography, I would be in the ground right along with them. So from there, I basically, you know, I got laid off from my job, and I was like, all right, I want to do something meaningful. So I actually took a job working with people with autism and intellectual disabilities. And I would work at 12 at night to 8 in the morning. And then I would shoot all day, shoot all my friends, just building my skill set. And what I would do is I would take pictures, print them up, take them to New York and different places and just give them out for free. You know, write my Instagram name back on it. on the back of the pictures and just give them out for free wherever I would meet people, you know. And what I would do is I would say, give me good vibes and good energy, I give you free art, you know, just to, you know, because I was just so overwhelmed and so used to negativity, you know, I would pay for some good vibes sometimes. And so I did that for a while, and then I just remember my first protest was when I went to Palestine and Israel, when we protested for that. That was my very first protest that I shot. And I just remember like just the energy, you know, because I had a friend that was from Palestine and I went to support. And then when Mike Brown was killed, that was my second protest that I shot down in Baltimore. And I tried to get like my work into like the paper and everything. I couldn't even get a reply. I even like sent it through a mutual friend that had friends in the Sun paper. Never could get my work in the city paper or the Sun paper. Then I'm like, dang, do my work suck that bad that I cannot like even get a, you know, nice work, but no thank you, you know? And so I just kept pushing, and I just remember at that time from giving out free art and then shooting my friends, I built a social network following of 10,000 followers on Instagram and 5,000 on Twitter. So at that time, you know, when Freddie Gray passed away, you know, I felt obligated as a black photographer to tell this story. I felt as though no one can tell this story better than I can, because I know the terrain of Baltimore, I know the people, and my heart is in the right place. So I didn't go out trying to make Time magazine. I didn't try to go out and do anything. I literally just grabbed my camera and just went out and documented everything. And this image is like what kicked it off. I just posted this image and said, I'm dedicating my page to Freddie Gray. Because I knew, I'm not gonna say I knew it was gonna be riots, but my city, like I said, is a tough city. We grow up tough. We have a certain type of realness about us. So I knew we was gonna break out into protests. I knew everything that was gonna happen, because for the fact that my city has been neglected for so long, from funding the schools down to lead paint issues, if y'all familiar with lead paint, which causes brain damage. You know, we've been subjected to that, to the heroin, to crack. Anything you can think of, Baltimore has gone through it. And you're talking about a community that has been down for so long. Like it's funny, CNN was reporting burnt down buildings, but some of these buildings have been burnt down since the riots of the 60s, and these houses have never been rebuilt. So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with not just my generation of frustration, but my parents, their parents, and we just released all this tension. You know, Freddie Gray was just that last drop in that bucket of frustration, and it just was all released at one time. And I felt as though I had to be there, and I wasn't gonna miss anything. I literally was out for 3 weeks straight, you know, past curfew. I was tear gas, pepper sprayed, you know, chased. And the sad thing about it, a lot of people don't know the real story. People think that people just start rioting because of Freddie Gray. The initial, when I took the Time cover, it actually started because drunk oil fans decided to call us niggas, monkeys, and everything else you can think of while we protested peacefully. And now, me, I've been called a nigga before. I've been subjected to racism all my life. I'm used to it. But you're talking about kids from East Baltimore that don't go to West Baltimore, kids from West Baltimore that never leave outside the community, that don't come in contact with different races and people from different ethnic backgrounds. So to be called a nigga by a white man or a white woman for the first time, in these trying times over, you know, a black man being, you know, stomped to death and had his spine severed, you know, what do you expect? You know, so I'm gonna flip through like my Instagram, because this is literally like, I literally like will post, and my work processes, these are raw images. So I literally shoot on the camera and I Wi-Fi straight to my phone so I can be faster than media. So while media photographers have to run back and edit their photos, I'm literally taking a picture. If I like it, I'm just gonna post it. And I didn't want to be biased, so I literally captured everything, the good, the bad, and everything else in between, so you can get the full essence of the story. So this is actually the Thursday before everything transpired. So this is all like the same day as we marched peacefully down the street. So as I'm taking these pictures and sending them straight to Instagram in the midst of everything us marching. And then actually this day, this is when I first posted the time image. And I didn't understand what I captured. I just thought it was a good image. And that day was very, very peaceful. You're talking about people from all over different parts of Baltimore and the DC, Maryland, Virginia area that came to Baltimore. It was about 2,000 people in the street. We marched from Gilmore Homes, the neighborhood of Freddie Gray, all the way to the Camden Yard Stadium, which is our baseball stadium, and then off to City Hall with no police escorts. It was a baseball game going on, so all the police were worried about was protecting the baseball game. So we literally blocked off all streets on our own and made our way to City Hall, where you had Bloods and Crips come together. You had all these different people just here for one cause. And you had, Muslims, Christians, every religion you can name standing together, speaking out against this injustice. And I just remember the younger generation, a little bit younger than me, they're from the ages 18 to 25, a couple years younger than me, saying, why are we here? I want to talk to the police. None of the police are here to hear anything that we're saying. I want to talk to the police. So they literally got off the podium and made their way to Camden Yards. And I usually post an order, but the day was just like so hectic. So like a lot of these images are kind of backwards because I actually was like ripping and running. I was running a little bit too much. And this is when the picture actually went viral. So on this day, once we made it back to Camden Yards, still again, we're peaceful. You had a couple things like bottles and things being thrown, but it was nothing crazy, until the Orioles fans start calling us monkeys and everything else. And then from there, it started off as a fist fight between white Orioles fans and young black men. But the fact that there's so many kids in this area just was too many. And then that's when this blind rage, when you're angry, you're talking about, like I said, these kids, some of these kids never been outside their community or outside of Baltimore. So they went on a blind rage. They destroyed police cars. Some people did get hurt, innocent bystanders, but I try to tell people, see if I can find an image that protesters were protecting people. So it's like people were getting hurt, but people made it seem like we were just destroying stuff. You had the younger generation, but then you had the older generation that were protecting people, making sure everybody was fine, making sure everybody was okay, protecting Orioles fans, even though people felt like they didn't want to. Even some protesters got hurt on our side by other protesters, And like the day just was like very chaotic, All these images are from that day. The first person to get maced was a white man, which was just crazy to me. The whole day, even to the day, it felt like I was in a movie. And a lot of people didn't understand, why are you posting these images? That's negative, but this is what's going on. We complain about media telling one-sided stories all the time. I refuse to be a puppet. At that time, it was about getting the story out there, the raw essence of the story. I'm not a pawn or a puppet for either side. I'm here delivering a message to show people what's really going on. So at this point, I use social media as my platform to get all my work out there. I went to sleep, and then I woke up, everything went viral. I was just on the front lines, all day just taking images, nonstop. And I just remember my mother was watching my daughter, and she called me and said, "Are you done protesting? Your daughter's getting on my nerves. Come get her." And I said, "All right, I'm going to come get her." And I was lying. I was still in between police and still in between, protesters. And she called me again, and she actually saw me on CNN, snapping away. And the pictures went viral, and I got a call from BBC that Sunday, asking me what happened. And I basically explained what transpired. So that Monday, when the the funeral of Freddie Gray, when the initial uprising, that's the only day I did not take any images. Because at that point, I want people to understand, like, I am a photographer, I'm not a journalist. This is my community, this is my home, and I love my city and I love my people. So at that point, it wasn't about capturing images, I was just more so concerned about my friends. Because I do have friends in that area. My grandmother drove through that mess. She lives up the street. Me and Freddie Gray has mutual friends. So at this time when people understand that, people are saying, well, you only told half the story, you didn't take pictures. I was like, there's a million photographers out there taking pictures. I was out there trying to make sure my friends made it home safe. And I just remember getting a call from Time Magazine. You know, they called me from like a block number. So if you call from a block number, you're either playing on my phone or you're a bill collector. And I answered, I just remember saying, hey, this is Olivier from Time. I said, Time what? Who is this? And I got small with him. He's like, no, I want to talk to you about what's going on in Baltimore. And I said, well, you know, it's a war zone. That's what it was. You had Humvees and tanks riding down the street. You have kids, 7-year-old kids, weaving through police. You have people getting snatched off the street and just completely disappearing. This is a war zone. Yes, things were burned down. You know, things were destroyed, but the very next day, people took to the streets to clean up. You know, and at that time, for me, it was kind of hard because at that time I felt like I was living in a zoo, where though people would come and just look, you know, just to be in awe of the damage that was created, not completely understanding the pain and the frustration of my community. People coming, you know, looking for that one image, trying to, you know, establish a career, you know, when Freddie Gray is dead, you know. So I made it, since then, I just made it my life's work to stay in Baltimore and document. You know, to this day, I still live in Baltimore. I'm still documenting Baltimore every day. I took Baltimore, I did an art show in Venice not too long ago. I did an art show in Philadelphia where I played the loop of Freddie Gray's video over and over again till people start crying and running out. You know, my work is here to tell the truth because it is real, but I'm also here to make you uncomfortable because you should be uncomfortable in these times. Because at the end of the day, we lost another brother today in Baltimore while I'm here talking to you. And then you don't know how hard it is, you know, to basically sit in the airport, you know, when you open your phone and there's another brother there. When, you know, everyone looking at you as this dynamic photographer and you have all these accomplishments and you're the first black photographer to do this and that and third, when I can give a damn when my people are still dying on the street. At the end of the day, I can go home and die tomorrow. And I have sat on panels with Commissioner Kevin Davis. I get text messages from police officers because I try to work with police officers to find a solution because at the end of the day, I feel like it's gonna take both sides of the fence to get this fixed. But it's like a tug of war right now. Some days I just want to scream fuck the police to the top of my lungs and give up. You know, I don't know. It's to the point now, growing up, I've always avoided the police. And why is that? Because I'm black. And people say, you know, what about black on black crime? You know, if you put 2 starving tigers in a cage, what's going to happen? That's what we live in. Baltimore, so many ghettos around the world is a cage. And people don't understand that. And people live on the outskirts and ride through to get to the inner harbor and get to work. And they think they understand the landscape because they come for a couple of protests. No, this man and this man in this video is dead right now. That's a friend of Freddie Gray who was murdered a couple days ago. Lost to the streets. Why? Because we live in a jungle. We live in a savage state of mind, a primal state of survival. You know, when you look at these people, when you look at the uprising, in my eyes, they're soldiers trying to get their voices heard. But we're considered thugs because we're doing whatever we can to survive. You know, and it's just tough. You know, sitting here talking to you like I want to cry. You know, what's going down in Charleston. You know, and just going home. Baltimore last year, 400 murders. Police completely stopped doing their jobs last year after the uprising. So people, you know, can do whatever they want. They tell me, we don't want to do the wrong thing. You know, if you're doing your job right, you had nothing to be scared of. You know, and it's just like, I had so much to say when I came here. I had something written up, and it was just like, what am I going to say? Like, my heart is not even here right now. My mind is like literally in 10 different places. It's like, who is next? Who's the next Sandra Bland, the next Tamar Rice? Like, who's next? Who's the next Corinne Gaines? And if you are familiar with Corinne Gaines, she was shot and killed, and her 5-year-old son was shot also, over traffic tickets. A man was shot over a book, but now it's a gun. And they getting away with it. Freddie Gray, no police was convicted. You know, so it's like, what is next? What is the change? How do we come together as one? Because at the end of the day, yes, it's obvious it's a race thing, and it's a fear thing. You know, a lot of it is media, and we all know this. Media is the puppeteer with a lot of these stories to pin us against each other. That's why it's important for people like me and everybody else to make sure we get the real story across and connect with people through our work. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we have to tell our own story. My community has been destroyed by photography, period. The media completely, you know, demonizes my community. You know, black on black crime, black on black crime. But if you look at the statistics, they're right there. It's pretty common in any type of ghetto or area. When you're in contact with the same race of people, it's gonna be white on white crime, it's gonna be black on black crime. But we're completely put on this plateau like we're savages, and we're not. We're humans. But we're constantly being slaughtered in the street like animals. You know, like, I had a lot to say, but I really don't have much more to say. Like I said, I'm sorry, I had so much to say, but I'm hurting right now. You know, like, I feel like my work, I'm doing amazing work. People love my work. You know, I'm showing people Baltimore, but it's not enough. It's like, what more can I do? You know, Russell Simmons gave me $20,000 to start my own youth program, which was amazing. I gave out hundreds and slew of cameras. From donations, we have done art shows and everything else, down to me teaming up, you know, with another white photographer who I thought cared about my community. And then let me tell you what happened. And this is why, like, I'm so, like, down right now, and my morale is so low, and my energy is so low. I worked with this young man and gave him a patches in my community, and he stole from my kids. He posed kids that I work with at the Safe Zone from Penn North with toy guns with their middle fingers up and tried to sell it to NPR. This is a journalist I'm talking about. This is someone who did stuff with New York Times. I gave a young man by the name of Freezer, who's most known for snatching a microphone from Miguel and CNN. And I gave him a camera. His images were stolen by this journalist, and the journalist sold them as his own. Like, these are the things that my community do when you try to do something positive. You know, and people don't understand why a lot of us are kind of standoffish when it comes to collaborating and working with people outside our communities, because we get taken advantage of. So, like, all I'm asking that all of you take from this is, like, allies are very important, friendships, and we have to work together as one. This is an American thing. It's not just a black thing. My community can't do it alone. We need help from everyone to stop this, because if we don't, it's going to continue. Thank you.